Welcome to the new and improved Remo Show. Let's get it, let's go. Alright, y'all, so check it out. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, yeah, she wanted some cocaine. So, I knew the Mexicans always knew where to get some cocaine. So, there was a couple of Mexican truckers over there. So, I walked over to where the Mexicans were, and I had asked them, and they was like, "Yeah, what you need?" So, one of them, I said, "Yeah, just give me, give me $20 worth." So I gave one of them $20, and I noticed there was a bunch of trailer parks parked off to the side of of the truck stop, way off to the side, and there was a bunch of motorcycles over there. So I had to walk past those trailers to get to where the Mexican dude was. And then I had to walk back. So on the way back, I saw a bunch of bikers pull up. It was probably like 20 of them. And so they pulled up and they saw me. They was trying to run me over. You know what I mean? I'm cussing. I'm like, man, what the fuck? I'm like running, jumping, cussing. Like, what the fuck y'all doing? You know, like making, how, because the ground was like gravelly, so they was riding by me like burning rubber, like making rocks hit me all in the face and shit. So, I'm cussing and running at the same time. So I get back to the truck. So I give Vanessa, what she wanted, the nose candy, and I told her what just happened, and she bust out laughing. She was like, "If anybody asks for me, tell them you don't know." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Do they know me?" I'm like, "What?" She was like, "Nah, a lot of biker girls run their mouth, and you the only black guy over here." So she said one of her biker homegirls probably told, some of the biker dudes where she was at and who she was with. I was like, well, they probably already did that. I was like, because them bikers, I don't know if they was trying to run me over or if they were just playing or what. I was like, but I find that offensive. And then she was like, yeah, they get drunk and do stuff like that. I was pissed at this time. I wanted to fight every biker that did that shit. So she was laughing. She thought it was funny, but I was dead serious. And so like I said, we talked all that night, and she wanted to go to Wyoming with me. She wanted to ride out. So I said, okay, all right. And I had to come back that anyway. I had to come back that way anyway to get back to Omaha. So I said, yeah, okay. So I gave her the nose candy or whatever. We drinking, and one thing led to another, and it was weird because she poured the nose candy on my dangalang and sniffed around it. She sniffed on it, and then she went to licking it. I thought it was gonna get numb because I had heard some older people say that if you put some nose candy down there, it'll make it numb. But it as from what I remember, it didn't. But anyway, we hit it off, and that was the first time I ever banged a Native American chick, and at that time it was the best experience I ever had. And she was very, very freaky. She let me come all inside of her and everything. She was with everything. Trust me. So, I was 22 years old. She was like 30, and she was more experienced than I was. I mean, I thought I was experienced. I mean, she thought she knew I was experienced. She thought that I did a good job. She thought that I was older than what I really was. I was like, no, I'm 22. She was like, oh, you just a baby. So the next morning, she was still asleep. She was hungover, drunk, and me, I was ready to go. So I went and got her some coffee before we pulled off, and it was like 6 a.m. The sun was just coming up. So I'm coming back from getting the coffee, and I look over to the right where those trailer parks was, and I saw all the motorcycles lined up, and they were the same motorcycles that was trying to run me over. I guess the guys were asleep in those trailers. Who knows? They probably was hung over, because it was dead quiet over there. So now the truck running, all I had to do was just go get in the truck and pull off because I left it running. She in there asleep. She said she told me she liked the sound of the truck. It puts her to sleep. When it's in idle, she said that's like white noise for her. So she was in there knocked out. So I'm walking with the coffee. So I walk over there by where all those motorcycles was lined up, and I did like Pee Wee Herman. Y'all ever saw Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure? Well, remember when he barely touched the motorcycles and they all knocked down like some dominoes? Well, that's what I did, except for I kicked them, and they all knocked down. They didn't make that much noise. They all fell down like some dominoes. And I took off running with the coffee, got on the truck, and as I was pulling off, I saw a biker dude come out. He came out the trailer with his shirt off, and he had sunglasses on. I was like, damn, it ain't even sunny out. Like, why the fuck you got? So he came out, he was looking, and he was like this. He did like this, and then he ran back on the trailer park, and some girl came out, with a sheet covering up her breasts and was looking, and they was looking at me as I was pulling away. I ain't say nothing. I just pulled away. I ain't even make eye contact. I glanced at him, and then I pulled away. And I remember they was both going like this. He was like, and then other bikers got off the trailer to see what the commotion was. It seemed like every trailer that was there, a biker got off, either with no shirt on and they boxers. This one fat white biker, he came out in his underwears, his BVDs, his Fruit of the Looms, and his tidy whities to see what's going on. I said, let me get the fuck out of here. So off we go. I made the drop off or whatever. We chilling, on the way back, and she told me to she all she kept talking about was New York and Niagara Falls, and she told me when we get back to Sturgis, she wanted me to go to her homeland, her hometown. It was in I think Keystone, South Dakota, somewhere. And so I said, yeah, I'll take you there. She said it's like an hour south from Sturgis. I was like, oh yeah, let's go. She said there's a truck stop there. She was like, is it? She was like, yeah, that's how she knows so many truckers. So I'm driving her there. Took her to her town. Before we got there, she was like, I'm gonna show you one of our wonders of the world. She was like, if I show you one of mine's, then you gonna show me yours? I said, yeah, I'll show you the Niagara Falls. Yeah, the falls ain't nothing. I said, I go there all the time. I said, what kind of wonders y'all got out here? I know it's beautiful. She was like, keep driving, you'll see. So she pointed me to this back road. I think it was Route 16A or something like that. So we driving down 16A. And she was like, let me know when you see that wonder. I was like, okay. She was like, keep driving, you'll see. So I'm driving, and I don't see nothing but trees, beautiful trees, and a beautiful landscape. And I look up, I see Mount Rushmore. I was like, oh shoot. So I pulled over. I wish I would have had a camera, y'all, because I would have took pictures of Mount Rushmore, and I would have took pictures of her, because she was dressed nice. She had on like a fishnet a short set. It was drop. She looked drop dead gorgeous, and I said, you gonna wear that for the day? She was like, no, I'm just wearing this for you. She said, I need to go home and take a shower. So took her to her mother house. They lived on a resort, and she went in there, took a shower. I met her mom. Her mom was a full-blooded Lakota Sioux Indian, and me and her was talking. I said, it's nice out here. She said, where you from? I said, I'm from New York, blah, blah, blah. And she started telling me stories about how she ended up there, and she said her family been there for generations. And I told her about Mount Rushmore. I was like, y'all live right near Mount Rushmore. It's beautiful. And to them, that's not beautiful. To the Sioux Indians, that was disrespectful, because they just took over their land and built Mount Rushmore without their permission. A lot of those Native American tribes, they're not excited about that. They hate Mount Rushmore. Because it's an offense. That'll be like somebody coming in your house and just knocking down the wall without your permission. Just because they feel like they're superior, they come in your house and just knock down the wall and hang up some pictures you don't even like. So, she was telling me all about that. Her mom was a real nice lady, and she thanked me for giving her daughter a ride. She told me to watch over her daughter. Her daughter is a hothead, and blah, blah, blah. And I was talking to these people like I knew them forever. So we drive back to Sturgis. Now, it's like Friday at this time, Thursday or Friday. It was hundreds of thousands. I'm not lying. It was probably, I think they said that night it was like 400,000 motorcyclists, and it wasn't even Saturday. I was like, damn. So, we just walking around, everybody cool. I didn't see too many black people there, but nobody was racist, nobody was prejudiced. Everybody was cool, slapping me up. I'm talking to people like I've known them all my lives, and I'm just now meeting them. A lot of truckers are bikers too. You know what I mean? So a lot of them say, "Hey, you drive trucks? Hey, man, yeah, yeah. Where you from? Well, I'm from New York. Oh yeah. Well, I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from Canada. You meeting people from all over. But everybody was cool. I had a blast. So the chick I was with, she had on some of them pants with the ass out, and she got a little drunk and a little tipsy, and she got flirtatious. I didn't care. She wasn't my woman. I was just like the first guy that had the chick that looked like Vanna White that flashed me. He didn't care. I didn't care. Shit. Just as long as don't nobody disrespect her. But it was other chicks out there doing that. Just getting drunk, just having fun and stuff. So she flashed a crowd of bikers as they was riding by, and next thing you know, I feel an arm around my shoulder. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I look, and it was a police officer. He was like, "Is this your woman?" I said, "Nah, this is my friend." Why? He was like, "You ain't pimping her out, is you?" I was like, "Nah." I said, "We just friends." I said, "Nah, you could ask her." And then he went, grabbed her, and put her in handcuffs. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what's going on? So he took her to the back of this trailer. So I follows him. I'm like, yo, what's going on? And one of the officers told me to stand back because she was finna go to jail. I was like, jail? I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I just told this chick, Mom, I'll look out for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I said, what did she do? The one officer said, indecent exposure. She flashed her breasts, and she had on them pants with the ass out. It was like some stretch pants she had on. She had on some thongs, but she was fully exposed. So they wrote her $100 ticket for that, and she ain't had no money, so they was about to take her to jail. I said, hold on, I'll take care of this. And so the officer that asked, was I her pimp? He was like, see, he was like, now you acting like her pimp. He was like, you got to be careful who you look out for, because we can arrest you. I said, no. I said, she don't have no money. I'm just looking out. You know what I mean? And she was like, nah, he's a friend. He's a friend. He's not even from here, officer. She was looking out for me. We was looking out for each other. She was telling the truth. So I said, look, officer, I said, I'm not even from here. I said, I'm working. I said, I just stopped by here to have fun. I showed him my ID, New York State. He was like, oh, okay. He was like, all right. Luckily she had her ID, because they would have really took her to jail. So, I said, I'm going to pay. I want cash. So I paid. They gave her a receipt, and so she was good to go. And I told her, I said, yo, you can't be wearing that. And then the one officer who swore I was a pimp, he was like, he told me if she leaves here dressed like that, she might get another ticket from another officer. He said the buck don't stop here. She's gonna get another ticket from another officer. So back then I used to wear, everybody wore baggy clothes. I had on like a 4XL white t-shirt or something like that. It was 2002. So I took it off, and I had a tank top underneath. So I took my t-shirt off and told her to wear it. It was big on her. It looked like a long dress. It looked like a long gown on her, But she still looked good. You know what I mean? And she was fully covered up. I said, here, wear my shirt so you don't get another ticket. She was like, cool. So we out there partying, having fun and stuff like that. And so I had to get back on the truck because I had to go back to Omaha, Nebraska. So she said she want to ride with me. I said, well, how you gonna get back? She said she'll take the bus back. She was like, yeah, I'll take a Greyhound back. She was like, it ain't gonna be but $50 one way. I said, you sure? She was like, yeah, she said, I just want to ride, baby. I want to ride. So I said, okay. I said, it's about 8 to 10 hours. She was like, so what? So she rode with me back to Omaha, and I took a bus. I had to leave the truck in Omaha. I took a bus back to New York. She took the bus back to South Dakota. But while we was at the bus station, it was like hard to depart. Like we had only known each other for like 4 or 5 days, but it was like we knew each other for like 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So it was hard. It was hard to leave. You know what I mean? She wanted to come with me, but she couldn't. I wanted to go with her, but I couldn't. And so, we exchanged numbers, and she went her way. Her bus came first. I still had to wait like 3 or 4 hours for mine to come. So her bus came first. I mean, we kissed like we never kissed before. People was looking, people was walking by looking at us, smiling, and it reminded me of that song by Tony Terry. When I'm with you, the sun shines my way. People just stop and stare and smile at us. When I'm with you, people were stopping and staring at us. So she went her way, I went my way, and um, we talked for like weeks, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, and all of a sudden we lost contact. We lost contact. I couldn't get in contact with her no more, and I tried calling. I tried looking her up in the phone book for years. I couldn't find her. I didn't know her last name. I just knew her first name. And so, like I said, that was 2002. Fast forward to what, 2023. I don't know. Something just told me to look her up on Facebook. I just typed up Vanessa, South Dakota, and I saw a bunch of them. And then boom, I found her. So I immediately hit add friend. 2 hours later, she was in my inbox. She was like, "Is that you?" I was like, "Yeah, it's me." She called me through Facebook. We talked for 5 hours. And she said she never stopped thinking about me. I said, "I never stopped thinking about you." She was like, "How did I find her?" I said, "I looked you up on Facebook. I just typed in your first name, and I scrolled through a bunch of Vanessas." And she said she didn't know you could do that on Facebook. And I was like, "Yeah." She said she just been Googling my name, but she didn't know my last name. She said she was glad that I got in contact with her and stuff. And I said, "Yeah." I said, I'm still gonna take you to Niagara Falls one day." And she said that I asked her how was her. She had 2 sons. I asked her how was her 2 sons doing. She said they doing good. She said one. She said one's a dentist, and she said another one is a police officer. And she was like, "Yeah, my daughter is about to graduate from the University of Nebraska." I was like, "Your daughter?" She was like, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, my daughter." She said, "I got a 20-year-old." And I was like, "Really?" And she showed me a picture of her. She looked black. She kind of looked like my sister a little bit. And so I was like, I said, "Yeah." I said, "Your daughter's cute." She was like, "Yeah." And I remember Vanessa had told me I was the first black man she had ever been with at that time. So I started to calculate. I asked her, I said, when is her birthday? She said, May 22nd. I was like, "Damn, that's my mother's birthday." And I started to calculate. I remember it was late July, early August when me and her hit it off. And I told y'all I nutted all up inside her. And so 9 months from that would have been May 2003. And that's when she was born. But Vanessa didn't say nothing. I don't even think she was sure at that time. Who knows? I don't know, I didn't ask, was it mine? She didn't say it. I'm gonna wait till the girl graduate. Then I'm gonna ask. She's supposed to graduate this June coming up. Me and Vanessa still talk. We still friends. Everything's cool. Yeah, y'all. It was a lot of explicit stuff that I didn't want to uncover. You know what I mean? But you know how YouTube is, y'all. Yo, like, share, subscribe, y'all. All right, it's your boy Remo.